Hey everyone, welcome to our Python series. Today we are going to learn about Python numbers and a math operation. So as you can see on a screen that our VS Code is already open. Now let's create a new file. That new file is a lecture4.py. We have created a new Python file. Now in that particular new Python file, we are going to work with the numbers and a math operations that we can do in a Python. So let's just say I have taken one variable that x is equal to 5 and we have to print x, right? We have taken one variable that is x and a value provided to that particular variable is a 5. Now as we know that in other languages, if we are going to create any kind of a variable, we have to provide the data type of that particular variable. But whenever we are working with the Python, there is no such things like that. Whatever values that you are going to be provided to this particular data type, your variable, your variable will take the data type according to the assigned values. Here x, in the variable x we have assigned the value 5, that is the integer number, right? That is the integer number. So automatically variable will take the data type as an integer. So just save it and try to run it. How we are going to run the Python program? Python and then our file name. Now as you can see that 5 is printed. Let's say we have taken some another variable that y is equal to 2.5 and then we are going to print y. Now as you can see that for the variable y we have provided 2.5, that is the floating point value. That is the floating point value, right? So automatically this y will take float as the data type. We are going to print y. Now let's try to run it. We have got the output as a 5 and 2.5. Let me just zoom in. Okay, now let's say we need to understand that particular variable x are of a which type, that particular variable y are of a which type. So for that we are going to write down the type command, right? We are going to write down the type command. Yes, now you can see that for the variable x5 is given, that is we know that integer data type, right? But there is no need to declare it. Whenever we need to find out that your x is of which data type, your variable x is of which data type, for that we are going to use the type command. What we have to write down to get the type command, that print in a bracket type, or in the type of functions we are going to write down the variable name, right? Now save it, try to run it. You can see that x is of a variable type integer and y is of a variable type float, right? Let's say we have taken another variable that is 1 plus 2j and try to print type and then in bracket z. Save it, go to the terminal and try to run it. Now you can see that the variable z are of a which type? The variable z are of a complex type, right? So these are the basic, you can say that values that we have provided to the variable, and if you want to check the type of that particular variable, you can use the type function. Now let's say we have to work with the operator. So for the operator we have taken one variable that is number 1. We have taken one variable that is num1, and for that particular variable we have given the value, let's say 3. and we have taken another variable that is number 2, and for that we have taken the value 4, right? Now we have already taken two variables, that is num1 and num2, and both the variables we have already applied the value, that is 3 and 4. Now what we have to do, let's say we have to do the addition operation between, not a and b, between num1 and num2. That means whatever the variable that we have declared, we have to do the addition operation of that. So what we are going to do, we are going to use addition operator sign between two variables, and we will save it and try to run it. Now you can see that 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. That means the addition of a num1 or num2 is equal to 7. The addition of a 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. The same way, let's say we have to do the subtraction, that is num1 minus num2. The same way we have to do the multiplication, right? Multiplication between a num1 and a num2, and the same way we have to do the division, that is num1 divided by num2, right? Save it and try to run it. Just move on to the terminal part, try to run it. Now you can see that for the addition we got the answer 7. For the subtraction we got the answer -1. Why -1? 3 minus 4, that is the -1. For the multiplication we get the answer as a 12. 3 multiplied with 4 is equal to 12. And for the division we get the answer 0.75, that is the 3 divided by 4 is equal to 0.75, right? Now one more thing that you need to remember, that print, let's say we have to find out the remainder. So num1 modulo num2, these are the remainder sign. If you want to find out the remainder, then you can easily find out the remainder by using the percentage sign, right? Now one more thing that you need to understand, here the basic operation is given, in which we have to do the basic multiplication between num1 and num2, basic divisions between num1 and num2. Now let's say print, we are going to use two multiplications. Two multiplication, that means num1 1 multiplication, 2 multiplication, and then num2. We are going to use the 2 multiplication, right? So what will be the output? What will be the output? Now you can see that the output is 81. How you can say that output is 81? This 2 asterisk or this 2 multiplication is going to known as a exponentiation. These are the new things that you need to learn in a Python. Whenever you are going to apply a single multiplication, basic multiplication operation is going to be applied between two variables. But whenever you have a 2 multiplication, that means a 2 asterisk sign between a number 1 and number 2. That means you are going to work with the, let's say, exponentiation, right? This is known as exponentiation. How you get the 81? 3 or number 1 or num1 is going to multiply by num2 times. That means 3 is going to multiply by 4 times. 3 is going to multiply by 4 times. 3 multiply with 4, 3 multiply with 3 one time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, right? 3 is going to be multiplied by 4 times. That means 3 power 4. You can say that 3 power 4, or you can also say that num1 power num2, or whatever variable that is given here, that is num1, and whatever variable that is given here, that is at the position of the power, right? So this is the new thing that you need to remember in a Python. Now the same way Let's say instead of the multiplication, we are going to use two division, that are num1, one division, two division, and then num2, right? So this is going to be known as a floor division. Floor division. Now what is the meaning of the floor division? First try to save it and get the output. What is the meaning of the floor division? The meaning of the floor division is that whenever you are going to divide 3 by 4, you got the answer 0.75. That is the floating point value. But whenever you are using two division between a variable 1 and variable 2, you get the answer, but that answer will be integer. By doing single division, we get the answer as a 0.75. But by doing 2 times division, that is known as a floor division, we get 0. Why we get 0? Because 0.75, that is the floating point, and the integer value of 0.75 is a 0. Right? I hope you are getting what I am trying to say. By doing a floor division, you can get integer value, or we can say that floor division return only integer values. Floor division return only integer value. Whenever you are going to do the division, there are high chances that you get the answer in a floating point. But whenever you are doing floor division, only integer values of that particular answer will be given, right, as an output. Now let's say there are so many inbuilt math functions is that is inbuilt math function, right? For example, let's say we have used ABS. What is the use of ABS? The use of ABS is that we are going to understand absolute value. We are going to provide the absolute value. ABS is going to work or going to be known as the absolute value. ABS function will provide you the absolute value. Now let's say we have given the value -2. We have given the value -2. What is the absolute value of -2? For that we need to provide the function ABS. Now try to run it. Okay, the absolute value of -2 is equal to 2, right? One more functions the same way. Let's say print ABS in bracket -10. In bracket -10 is given, right? So what is the absolute value of -10? Definitely 10. So ABS is basically used to find out the absolute value of some particular given value. That is the inbuilt function. One more inbuilt function that you need to understand here is that rounding off. Let's say we have given the value 2.5. We have given the value 2.5. Now we want a rounding off value of 2.5. So just try to save it. So for that we are going to provide the round function. That is the again inbuilt math functions that you can use in a Python. Okay, for the 2.5, the rounding of a value will be 2, right? Now let's say print round in a bracket 3.7. Let's say we want to find out the rounding of value of a 3.7. The rounding of value of 3.7 is equal to 4, right? One more inbuilt math functions, that is you can say that minimum and maximum value or min and max value. Let's say print, we are going to use the min function, and in the min function we are going to provide somewhat 4 or 5 values. Let's say 45, 20, 71, 65 or 33, any random value, Now what your main function will do, your main function will find out the minimum value from the given set. What is the minimum value from the given set? We can see that 20 is the minimum value. So that is again one inbuilt function. Next is the print. Let's say we have to work on a max, that is max provide a maximum value. So max, let's say we have provided 56, 91, 23, 54, 99, so many values that you can provide it. That depends on you, right? Try to run it and then save it. What is the maximum value? Maximum value is 99. So min function is basically used to find minimum value, right? And max is going to used to find maximum value, right? To find out the maximum value. Now let's say we have to find out the power. There is one more inbuilt function, that is the power, right? Power x comma y. That means 3 is in a power of 2. 2 to the power 3. Or you can say that the same way we have worked with the exponentiation. So what is the output? 2 to the power 3. You can say that 2 to the power 3 is equal to 8, right? So this is your output, right? So these are the basic inbuilt math functions that is already available in your Python, and you can easily use it whenever it is required. Now one more thing, let's say we are going to work with something else. Let's try to import math. Right? After importing math function, let's say you have to find out the logarithm. What we have to do? We have to find out the log value. So how we are going to find out the log value? Let's say we have to find out the log value of let's say 100. Log value of 100, right? Log value of 100, right? But whenever you want to find out some kind of a square root, you want to find out some kind of a log value, for that it is mandatory to import math functions in your Python, right? It is mandatory to import math functions in your Python. Now let's try to print it. Okay, print in a bracket, we are using math function, so math dot log in a bracket, let's say 100, right? So we are going to find out the log value of 100 using the math functions. So for that, using the math library, you can say that library functions, whatever, that is depend on you. We have already import math, and we are going to find out the log of 100 by using the math. So what we have to do? Print math dot log, right? Print math dot log, and in the bracket the value on which we have to find out the logarithm. So just try to get it. This is the log value of 100, right? One more value is that let's say print in bracket math dot log of we want to find out the value of 10, log value of 10. This is the log value of 10, right? Let's say we want to find out math dot square root. This is again the inbuilt function, by the way, this is again the inbuilt function. We have saved it. Now try to run it. The value of a square root 81 is a 9, right? So these are the basic math functions that you can apply in your Python program or in your script whenever it is required. Now one more thing, that let's say we have to do the typecasting, or for example we have to do the type conversion. Let's say this one is the type conversion. What is the meaning of the type conversion? One number is given, let's say a is given, and that a's value is equal to 5. A value is equal to 5, but that is the integer number. But we want this particular number in the form of a floating point, or we want output in the form of a floating point. So for that we are going to use the type conversion. In our language we generally known as a type casting, but the preferred you can say that thing is that type conversion. Let's say we have taken a, right? A is equal to 2. That is, the value is integer actually. The value is actually integer, but what we want to do, we want to convert this integer value into the floating point. So how we are going to convert it into the floating point? Let's say a float and then in a bracket we are going to pass the variable that is a, and the same thing we are going to be stored in some kind of a variable that is a1, right? By mistake I have done this. Okay, we have taken one variable that is a, we have provided the value that is the integer value. Now that integer value I want in a floating point at a time of output, and that floating point value should be stored in another variable that is a1. So this is known as a type casting. Now let's say print a1. This is known as a typecasting. How you can do the typecasting? Whatever variable that you want, you have to put that variable in this bracket. In which data type you have to convert it, you have to put that data type before that particular bracket, and in which particular variable you want to store the answer of this, that you have to provide in the left hand side of the equal to, right? And then we have to print that particular data type. So print a1, save it and try to run it. Whatever 2 that we have provided here, that is the integer value, now that 2 is going to be converted into the floating point value, that is the decimal value, by doing the typecasting, right? Now let's say there is some another variable, that variable is a 3.2. That is the floating point variable. Now what do we want? We want this floating point variable in the integer. We want this floating point variable in the integer. So how we are going to do it? Create a new variable in which the typecasted value is going to be stored. So that new variable is b1, and we have to convert this floating point into the integer. So that converted data type is integer, and in the bracket in which variable that value is stored. So we are going to be provide that variable name, right? And after that print let's say b1. So we have stored this particular, save it and try to run it. Now as you can see that in a b we have provided the value 3.2, that is the floating point value, but after doing typecasting we got the answer in an integer. So that is the 3.2 floating point value, decimal value is going to be converted into the variable or in the value integer, that is 3. One more time again try to repeat it, try to understand it, how you can do the typecasting. let's say we have taken one value and that value is going to be stored in one variable. That value data type is a float, but we have to convert it into the integer. So, and that converted value will be stored in some another data type, that is the b1. So whatever value is already available, that you have to put it into the bracket. In a which data type you want to convert it, that is the as you can see that in a hint they are going to be provide convertible to integer. In a which data type you want to convert it. Floating value is available, I have to convert it into the integer, so I am going to be provided that integer data type and store it into the b1, and then print b1. That means whatever typecasted value is going to be available here, that is going to be stored in a b1, and that b1 will be printed here. So that 3.2 is going to be given in the form of an integer, that is equal to 3, right? So that's it for the basic maths function, that math function that we are going to be learned in our Python series. I hope you like it, and that's a wrap up from my side. If you guys like this particular video, please like it, hit the bell button, comment it, subscribe it, and forward it to your friends and family members or whoever need this particular kind of lectures. If you want some more lectures, please do the comment, please like it, share it, subscribe it. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching this here video.